some of these critics, these pundits.
I absolutely adore them lads. I have unbelievable time for them, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.
They'd like to play the hard man when they're on it. It's not very pleasant when you're trying to manage a team. All you're looking for is a bit of civility and a bit of decency, but they just miss you like you know, you have nothing to do with the bloody occasion.
Yes, my favourite part of the week, it is the GAA Quick Picks. Can you believe it? We are at the All-Ireland Senior Football Final. It's Kerry versus Donegal, just the one match in town. And we are going to see where everyone has gone this week. It's such a tough one to call. Tommy Rooney, good morning.
Morning, Aisling. How are you?
Good now, not too bad. Let's have a look straight away. We'll get straight into it, where everybody has gone. Is there any surprises in here? Full house. So Tommy Kerry, Will Kerry, Eoin Kerry, Adrian Kerry and Aisling is Kerry. Woo, I thought we might have one Galway. Yeah, I thought maybe Adrian might have went in there with a Galway. He likes to stir things up a little bit, doesn't he? What do you reckon, Tommy?
No comment. He's not here to defend himself.
So was it an easy decision for you?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be tight. I said that on the football pod during the week, and I said still take Kerry by 5. I think this game is going to hit a messy period with about 20-25 minutes to go when it's going to be in the melting pot, and I just think Kerry are going to pick up on what they did against Dublin and get through it. I just think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to collapse.
What is the messy period?
When Galway still have a chance and they dragged them back into it, the way the Dubs dragged themselves back into that game against Kerry the last day, and it looked like Kerry collapsed. All the players around them pretty much, they couldn't get a score apart from Paddy Clifford, and then Sean O'Shea steps up with that free at the very, very end. So I think that Galway are going to be in this game. I just think Kerry have enough on the pitch.
Yeah, I don't think Kerry would have went away from that game saying that they put in their best performance. I think they would have liked to have won out that game by at least 4 or 5 more. And for Con not to be playing for Dublin as well, I thought was a massive thing. Imagine they had Con. So I don't think it's all plain sailing. I don't think this is as straightforward as maybe some think. You know, I think it's definitely going to go down to the wire. How are you feeling, Eoin?
Like 5 points from a prediction of 5 points from this weekend is something of a hammering, isn't it? Like given the way everybody expects
in an All-Ireland final.
Yeah,
it kind of is on.
Like, I think that's a healthy enough one, but like, I mean, I'm not confident enough to say it'll be 5 points. And I think one of the really concerning things from the second half was actually just Kerry's attack, and I think that maybe the wind in the hill, and because Dublin were struggling to find their range in the first half, we've kind of got lulled into this narrative around Kerry in that second half that they just didn't have their shooting boots on, that David Clifford had 2 wides and therefore Kerry didn't have their shooting boots on. That actually wasn't the case whatsoever. I watched the game back and that felt the case at the time, but as the lads have mentioned on the football pod multiple times, the reality was that Kerry just lost their shape completely. They actually didn't have a whole pile of opportunities. Obviously you've got Clifford going wide twice, which is big and memorable, and Stephen O'Brien picking the ball off the ground in the box, which is memorable, and Diarmuid O'Connor going short. But other than that, it was just actually maybe a lack of opportunities or a lack of good quality chances, which defined that second half for Kerry. So that's a real concern. That's how they left their semi-final. And that's what you'd be really, really worried about, because their attack is the thing that supposedly marks them out from the rest of the teams in the country. I think as well, when we're building up this game this weekend, I just think none of the defenders have got enough credit at all. Like there could be a case where, you know, the Galway full back line has a really good game as opposed to David Clifford and Sean O'Shea being off. Like, I mean, they've got to an All-Ireland final. Like, why can't Sean Kelly and Liam Silk and Glynn actually just have these brilliant games at the weekend, and it doesn't necessarily need to be down to Kerry having an off day? And by a similar token, why can't Jason Foley just go out and beat Damien Comer? Why does it have to be down to these forwards having an off day? I think we've sort of forgotten that these are potential all-star full back lines. There will be all-stars handed out to some of these full backs, and I think that they've been underrated so far, and I think that we still need to pay attention to how good these defences are as individuals. Yes, we've got 2 good systems, but I think there are some fantastic individuals in those full back lines, and I think that's going to be a really enjoyable part of the weekend, those individual matchups, because again, without repeating myself, I think the narrative has been, God, how do Galway cope? And how do they manage to stop the bleeding against the Kerry attack? And similarly with Kerry, it's like, how do they handle Comer? How do they handle Walsh? How do they stop the bleeding when the Galway forwards will surely run rings around them? I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a couple of individual battles that are going to be won by the defenders in the full backline this weekend.
Oh, and just on that, I actually think for both of these teams, the system is more important than the individual matchups. And
it's true.
I think, yeah, I just think it's hard to call some of those matchups, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Like, I know you're right in saying that Jason Foley could have a match-winning performance with Damien Comer, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think if Kerry are going to stop Damien Comer, it's the system around them. It's starving them of possession around the D. And likewise with David Clifford, if it's Liam Silk or Sean Kelly who's man-marking him, it's trying to get David Clifford out of the scoring range. But does David Clifford even have a scoring range? He's the type of footballer that can score on a half a step or 2 steps. He's so hard to stop, like.
I totally agree that the system is something that defines this defence, but I also think that within the system, I'm expecting a couple of big individual performances this weekend. We've seen it in the past. We've seen the old Tom O'Sullivan get man of the match in an All-Ireland final against Cork, and sometimes a cornerback can just step up, mark his man out of it, and come home with the man of the match award. And if we're expecting a cagey affair, that would play into the fact that we will not have one individual who's going to kick 1-5 potentially this weekend. I know that's famous last words, and Comer's going to score 2-4 now after saying that. And I'm also concerned about, a clean sweep of predictions here. This is like worse than the D2 advertisement, to be honest. And I'm personally on an absolutely horrific run of predictions right now. So you've all got on a terrible bandwagon by following my steps.
It'll be all your fault now, Eoin, if they lose. So, Tommy, how do you think Kerry will cope with this system that Galway play? Because they haven't really came up against it very often yet in this championship, that defensive setup.
I think Kerry will be slicker and move the ball faster than Derry will have. I don't think Derry had the same options that Kerry have, obviously. I think we might see a slightly similar game to the Armagh game. There's a bit of chaos there. Like let's not kid ourselves here. The Galway system isn't perfect yet. It's been very good. It's been very impressive. But they creaked in the last 10 minutes against Mayo. Mayo nearly got back in that game, and Mayo don't have the shooters, as we famously know that the likes of Kerry do have. Roscommon were 9 points down and they nearly got it back. Armagh dragged it back to a draw into extra time. Derry just didn't have the options up top. They didn't have the variety in their attack. Even though they hit big scores all year, we just suspected that was going to happen. So Galway, as good as their defensive system has to be, they also have to click going forward. Like, that is so important for Galway this weekend. And same with Kerry. I think their defence, there's that statistic, they've only conceded 2 goals. One of them was a break, Costello, brilliant finish. The other one was McCurry's wonder goal down in the league. 2 goals from play. But I don't think they've been tested. I really don't. And I think, as you mentioned earlier on, Con missing the last day, I don't think that means that Dublin win by a point or Dublin win by 5. I think it changes the dynamic of the game completely. I actually think for about 50 minutes the last time, Kerry were maybe 7-8 points better than Dublin, but Dublin dragged them. This is one of the greatest Dublin sides we've ever seen. They've still got the hallmarks of that team. They've still got many of those players that have played in finals. There was no surprise that Dublin were able to drag themselves back into that. So, go on.
Like, I'm just on the point of not being tested. Like, so I agree with that on a wider sense, but just with regards to the defence, Tommy. So this is something that was picked up on earlier in the league, where this new system had been brought into play. So I think it is somewhat relevant. It's not totally relevant, but I think it's somewhat relevant to look at their defensive showings all throughout the year. When Kerry were scoring goals, what were they doing at the other end of the pitch? And this goes all the way back to playing an entire Division 1 campaign and conceding 1 goal from open play. I know it's not the same, but also you got to remember that Dublin have been scoring goals. They did not score 5 goals in the Leinster final this year as well. Dublin have been creating goal-scoring opportunities.
We can't.
And they
against Cork.
Sorry, they had 1 chance. You wouldn't even say the Costello goal was a chance in the All-Ireland final. The only goal chance they had was James McCarthy, and it was straight at the goalkeeper. Mayo had 1 goal chance, which was Kevin McLaughlin. So I would say they've given away 2 goal chances in 2 games against Mayo and against Dublin. And I know Mayo aren't what they once were. Neither are Dublin, but they are still in the top 5 teams in the country. Like, I mean, when you compare them to some of the teams that Galway have come up against as well, I don't know. I think the defensive thing is a real thing to cling to from a Kerry perspective. I don't think the jury is out whatsoever on that defence. I think the question is, can Galway get around what is proven to be an excellent defence when it comes to stopping goals?
I would have big questions over that, because it's a different sport in February, March. It's a different sport in Munster. Like when it gets to Croke Park.
The last 2 games then.
But you've gone up against a Mayo attack minus Tommy Conroy, Ryan O'Donoghue, Killian O'Connor, who hasn't looked right all year. Like a Mayo attack that had Jack Carney as a full forward, a midfielder turned into a full forward, whipped after 35 minutes. Kevin McLaughlin had the chance. Kevin McLaughlin butchered that chance. Should have been in the back of the net. Like Dublin didn't create a single goal chance against Cork. So Cork shut down Dublin in Croke Park. It'd be different if Cork shut down Dublin in Páirc Uí Rinn. They shut them down in Croke Park. They were blunt. That Dublin full forward line was pathetic the last day. It was very poor. Their runs, the shape that they had, they couldn't get into the game at all. Rock barely touched the ball that day. Like, it was very poor, the Dublin attack. Costello's break, that goal doesn't come unless it's a Kerry turnover on their own 45. Like, Dublin smelt blood. They went for it. It was a savage finish. Used the defender as a shield and put it in. But I really, really don't think they've been tested. Really don't think they've been tested. What
are you seeing in terms of the concerns then with regards to what Kerry have shown then? It sounds like that you are expecting them to be open.
It's not that I'm concerned. It's that I'm just not buying it yet. I'm just not buying it. Like, who have they gone up against?
Yeah, Dublin and Mayo. Like, I mean, who would you prefer?
Dublin and Mayo minus.
I get that. Who would you prefer them to go up against? Like, who is?
Well, now the pressure's on this weekend. They're going up against someone like Damien Comer, who's in the form of his life. Rob Finnerty, who's been picking off points left, right, and centre. You know, look, 100%. Derry put Chris McKagan and Rob Finnerty.
Okay, so, Eoin, last word from Eoin. Go ahead.
No, but the question is, Tommy, like, I get that, but like, we're talking about an All-Ireland finalist this weekend. So
yeah,
who would be? Obviously, Galway are going to be a bigger test than everybody else. Like, I mean, I'm not arguing that whatsoever, but is there any other team out there that you would have liked to have seen Kerry go up against that would give you a better idea of how that defence is going up against? Because I would still consider, I know that they're missing players, both teams, but I would still consider Mayo and Dublin to be 2 pretty good teams with 2 pretty good attacks. Like, you could count on one hand the number of attacks that would give you a better idea of how Kerry are holding up now. Or
Dublin McCann, like Dublin McCann, like 100% Dublin McCann. Like we saw what Dublin did against Kildare. Dublin McCann. 100%. He's a transformative footballer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We do have a leaderboard, so we're going to have a quick look at that before we have to wrap here. So, Aisling, 78%. Tommy, how do you like that?
How is that possible? I overtook you last week.
Because the maths was done wrong.
Oh, that's all right. Okay.
Well, this is what I'm told here. Tommy, you're 75%. We Will on 72%. Eoin 64% and Adrian on 64%.
That doesn't make sense. There's something fishy going on here. You may as well go for a score prediction this weekend then, and whoever wins it wins it.
I know. We're happy enough, Tommy.
Score prediction. Go on.
No, but but that doesn't that's not how we decide.
You didn't even make any predictions at the start, so you're actually missing games as well.
What do you mean? In what games did I not make a prediction?
Did you not miss the first couple of games?
No, Tommy, I did not miss it. You actually missed a few of the games, if I remember correctly.
I don't think so.
Eoin, did he actually miss a few of the games?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Which games?
Factored into things.
Which games?
You were in New York. You were living it up.
I gave my quick picks. I always text them in.
No, I'm getting, they're shaking heads out here in the production box.
Not buying that.
Yeah, when I was in New York, I text Colum here and told him my quick picks.
I'm pretty sure I did. I'll go back and check that.
You sound a bit bitter here, Tommy. You don't like losing, do you?
No, I don't like losing.
Oh, well, anyway, we will see. We'll come and do this all again next Friday, and we'll have.
What do you think about Kerry's attack and Kerry's defence? Do you think they've been tested?
But say that again, sorry?
Do you think Kerry's defence have been tested?
I don't think either of these teams are their systems are fully up to scratch yet. I think they're both getting better game on game. I was surprised that Kerry weren't better against Dublin. So, yeah, I don't know if they fully have been tested. Look at the games I suppose they've had. Yes, a little bit against Mayo, maybe for 40 minutes or so. But other than that, then against Dublin. But again, I thought they were going to win by quite a bit more, considering there was no con. But yeah, I don't know. Galway, I'd be very afraid of their system, how they set up. I think for Kerry, they're going to need to move quick. As you said, they can't be like Derry. They can't be patient on the ball. They have to take a risk. They have to let that ball in quick, try and hit Clifford. as soon as they break, because I think they'll get bottled up again once they break and Galway get back. So yeah,
Aisling, sorry Aisling, I think there's like two things that are possibly true here, and we just don't know, and we'll know on Sunday. Your theory is absolutely correct that Kerry have not been tested. Galway will score a couple of goals and we'll be like, okay, anybody who bought into the Kerry defence was wrong. Or B, there's a possibility here that Kerry have looked like they haven't been tested because of their defence against scoring goals, where they are happy enough to let teams play in front of them. And when it comes to goal chances, that is the very thing that they want to prevent. And that is why it looks like Kerry have not really been put under the pump when it comes to the goal scoring. Maybe that's all part of how the defence looks. As I said it out loud, that feels like a bit of a watery argument. So maybe you will be, maybe the former is going to be exactly the thing that happens this weekend. My opinion is different to that. My opinion is that this defence will hold up against goals. But I do think they'll give up one, maybe two goal chances. And who knows, maybe Comer's clinical enough to take both of them. And if they manage to get two chances, maybe that's all Galway need. Or maybe I'm wrong completely, and maybe they'll give up like 10 goal chances and it's just back to the way it was in 2019 again, or last year.
It's so much better than it was last year, Eoin. I'll give you that. It's so much better than it was last year.
Big time. You can see Paddy Talia's come in and you can see that maybe Ulster-like sort of defending. It's brilliant to see. You definitely can see a big improvement against Tyrone last year. You could see that they were opened up. So absolutely, I can definitely see that it's a hell of a lot better. There's a lot of improvements. But I think we'll find out on Sunday whether it's fully been tested or not and where they're at. So that is your quick fix.
I have unbelievable time from, but they're a great bunch, but it's not acceptable.